Welcome to Bring Out Your Badass Self, a movement to break your negative thoughts and habits and instead focus on building each other up and encouraging fearless authenticity.
Each week, we will get vulnerable and share experiences alongside our guests and audience. Come rediscover your inner badass self.
Good morning, fellow badasses. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me know that you are here and that you are joining us. Today, I am feeling a lot of emotions today, and I think it might be because of the 8-8 portal or the Lion's portal, which is about manifesting our desires and stepping into our power. And it's about harnessing the fierce energy and courage of the lion. And it's also about new beginnings, personal growth, and sort of unleashing that inner badass self. It's also about connecting with our soul's expression and the inner essence and our spiritual or emotional core. And so I'm curious how everyone is feeling today. So let me know you are here, and also let me know what feelings are stirring up inside you. One of the things that I do each morning, and so I just want everyone to say hello, but one of the things that I do each morning is I reflect and I journal. And this morning I was writing about something that really had me thinking about that warrior side of me and the things that have happened to me and how I've turned those things into a positive in my life. And that is really what this month's topic is about. But today we're going to be also taking a bit of a turn. As a reminder, this month we're going to be talking about the Law of Relativity. And today we're going to be talking with Adam Hoots. And we're going to be going to dive into this law and also how it relates to lean principles. And we're also going to encourage Hoots to get vulnerable today about his life. So those that know Adam Hoots, he just loves getting vulnerable. And I know that he is laughing in the background at that comment right now. And so before I bring Adam up, I want to acknowledge the people that are joining us. So let me flip over. All right. So we have Myra joining us from Tennessee. Good morning, Myra. She says joining. Oh, you're from Mississippi today. So, are you down there gambling? What you doing, girl? Let me know what you're doing down in Tunica, Mississippi, because I was expecting you to be in Tennessee today. So good you're here. And we also have Carmen here. Good morning and happy Friday. My two favorite beautiful badasses. Yeah, Carmen, it is just going to be me today and actually from now on. And so I am actually doing solo from now on. Kate wanted to focus on other things that were important to her. So I'm actually gonna be it. I'm gonna be BOYBAS moving forward. Myra also, she said yes, she is gambling. We also have Steve here today. He says, good morning from sunny Connecticut. So thanks, Steve, for joining us today. I know you are going to help us dive into some things a little bit further, especially on the lean side of the house. And he also said he's ready for some Hoots culture wisdom. And I think that that's also another thing that Hoots just so much loves is the word culture. So we might talk about that as well. So bring it on, Steve, in the conversation. All right, let me pull up another individual. J Rose coming in. She said, good morning, badass. Happy Friday. It's a new day and I'm grateful for BOYBAS. Thank you, Jennifer. We're so glad that you are here. Yes, the courage of the lion. And yes, you are a Leo and ready for the fire and strength and joy. I'm going to have even more of it this month. So I love that. All right. We also have Kim joining us as well. Welcome, Kim. She says, good morning to one of my favorite, amazing and beautiful badass ladies. Back at you, Kim. It's been great working with you this week. and just really honing in on a lot of new things that we have you focused on. And so thank you for all of that. And then Carrie's joining us from a VRBO in Durham. So thanks, Carrie, for joining. She said, feeling good. Happy Lionsgate portal. Yes. All right. Well, I want to bring people also into a little bit of the behind the scenes that we've been experiencing this morning, but continue to tell us hello. So I do have Adam Hoots, and I'm going to be bringing him up, but I would like to do a little bit of an introduction to him, but also just a little bit of insight. I was like, okay, I might be on my own today. Adam shaking his head in the background. Adam had some things that he needed to do. He was like, oh, I'm also supposed to be taking care of my daughter today. So at about 20 minutes till, something like that, I'm like, hey, are you joining? And he's like, oh, I've got all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, 5 minutes to live. He comes on about 1 minute, and then he goes away again and goes away again. But so he's been in the background, but he's getting things settled. But I was like, all right, well, I might have to riff today. But he's like, nope, I'm not going to let you down. And he is here. So let me do this. Let me bring him onto the stage, and I'm going to give a formal introduction to him. So give me 1 second. Hey, good morning.
Hi, Miss Sarah. I'm here. I promised you I'd be here. I'm here.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So good
I love. Yeah, I love how you put it. You made it sound like I'm taking care of my young daughter, like I had to stay home or something. Yeah, we're moving her into college today. It's like the last day I ever get to see her again, and so I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, luckily I have had these types of things happen over the time that we have done this, but I've also never had to do it alone. And so I was like, well, this is going to be a new experience.
Yeah, for sure. It's all right. We'll make it happen. No problem.
It's awesome. I knew you would show up and it would be awesome. All right. So let me give a formal introduction. So Adam Hoots, he's an industry leader in construction, ACHE solutions, and he is also the host of the Lean Builder podcast. He's also an adjunct professor at Clemson University, and he's also a 2-time kidney transplant survivor. And really, Adam embodies resilience and innovation. He's really an inspiration to the construction industry and really just brings value to the craft overall. And I know that we're going to be having some people joining us as well that also have experience with Adam and how he has brought value to the industry. And then, as I mentioned today, we're going to maybe dive in a little bit more on the personal side and some of the things that he might get vulnerable about. And you can see the uneasiness. And so I will take it easy. He did tell me that he was okay with swimming, but he wasn't good with scuba diving. So I'm going to let him decide how deep he wants to go today.
Thank you, Miss Sarah. Yes, you make me comfortable because I trust you. So, I think that has a lot to do with the emotional bungee jumping that we have experienced together. So, yes. Let's let her rip. Let's get this thing going. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's do this. Let's go with the easy stuff first. And so, as you know, we're going to be talking about the law of relativity today, and it really embodies challenges that we have and also reframing things in our life. And so I wanted to have you maybe explore a time that you had to reframe a problem that ended up leading to a successful outcome and how that might also relate to the lean principles.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of those, but you talked about this vulnerability one, so let's dive in with the kidney transplant. How does that sound?
Let's go into that. How did you reframe that problem?
Well, so I found myself, on kidney dialysis, hating life, not really enjoying my perspective at that time, and because it's a tough life, right? I mean, they're like taking your blood out of your body and they're cycling it through a machine. They're filtering it and putting it back into your body, and it hurts, right? It's just tiring, taxing. It's just not good on the body. And so, this is a process that I got done 3 days a week, between 4 and 4.5 hours each time I went. And it was just miserable. And I had all of this time while I was on dialysis the second time. And I said, what am I going to do? Right? Like, what am I going to do with this time that I have? Because you're plugged into a machine. You can't be like me now in a car doing live. Like, I could have been doing live streams all day, every day there. But I was trying to figure, like, what am I going to do with my time? And I'd always had this dream of writing a book. And so all this time, I have this dream of writing a book. Let's do it. And so I kind of flipped the script from feeling bad about myself, drowning in my sorrows, to more of a, like, how am I going to be productive with this time? And so I did two things. One, I kind of started just reaching out to find a co-author, right? I had been trying to write a book with my father for a long time, like almost 3 years. And, we'd get meetings set up and he wouldn't show up, or I'd have something, and we just could never get on the same page. And one day I was talking to Buddy Brumley, who also was a co-emotional bungee jumper. And I was like, Buddy, man, I got this dream, and dialysis sucks and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, let's do it. And just like that. I mean, it was just kind of one statement, one sentence from him that really reframed it for me. And it's like, what am I waiting on? Like, let's just do it. And he was right. And from that point, like, I just dove in, opened a Canva document right there, started writing the book, and then kind of had this vision as Buddy said, well, let's do it. I've kind of had this, like, it dawned on me, like, I'm not just defining these, because the book is called The Old Dog Lean Thesaurus. And so it's about lean construction. And we were trying to say, look, you don't have to call these words lean words in order to be doing lean, right? I think there's this misconception that doing lean is something new. And a lot of times great builders already have lean practices built into what they do. They might just not call it that. And so the book is...
Can we also, for people that don't know what lean is, because we do have some people that are not necessarily in the construction industry, can you help us define what lean is?
Yeah, so when you owe somebody money and you can't pay it, they can put liens on, like, a property or something. That is not what we're talking about at all, okay? We're talking about like doing things with more efficiency, with less waste, because we care about the people who are doing those things. I believe that's a pretty good description of lean in general. It's trying to do things, they say work smarter, not harder. It's trying to work with gravity, not against it. So that's the best way I can put it, real quick. But if you really want to know what it is, you can go get this book called The Old Dog Lean Thesaurus. All right. And really dive in, where we describe the most popular 33 terms there. So from an old dog and a lean geek's perspective.
I love it. All right, so continue. You were talking about now you're ready to write the book, I believe, is where you were at.
Yeah. So, well, I was writing it, and I was writing it from just my perspective, and I was defining all of these terms. And later on, I would be coined as the lean geek, as Jennifer Lacey's daughter would draw me. She was my co-illustrator for the book. And so I quickly realized that, hold on, like, my perspective, albeit maybe powerful and important to some, might not touch everybody. And so, again, kind of bringing that law of relativity back here, is like, well, the obvious choice was like, hey, Buddy was the one to encourage this thing. Buddy
Mhm.
was like a positive male role model in my life. How can I team up with Buddy such that I can speak to more people and not just to the people who think like me? And so Buddy was able to help me define these lean terms from an old dog's perspective, while I was able to define them from kind of this lean geek, white paper reading perspective. And so, yeah, again, I just, it was that time, it was a way to take something that was so awful and so terrible for me and to
Mhm.
turn it into something useful and productive to the world.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you're reframing your problem. You're taking a look at what it is that you can do in life. And I think that it was also sometimes it does take another person to encourage you. And I think that's where also making sure that the people you surround yourself with become important as well, even as you start to take a look at the law of relativity as well, is that a lot of times we think about things happening to us versus for us. But you were also, willing to sort of stretch yourself and go, okay, well, let me talk to some other people. Let me, talk to them. And I think sometimes it takes those other people reframing the situation as well to maybe make you rethink about things as well. Do you think that it was more Buddy that helped, or were you starting to get there?
I think I was too close to it. I don't know that I ever would have got there. I think, you know, when I was writing the book, or when I wanted to write the book and I couldn't kind of get off zero, I felt like I was maybe too close. Like I knew this lean stuff a little bit too good. And like
Mhm.
I couldn't get away from my own thoughts or mindset or view on how these terms should be defined until, really it was the conversations back and forth with Buddy. And then what was really interesting, Miss Sarah, is I was like, as we were getting so close to releasing the book, I was like, oh my gosh, what if, like, I took it to the extreme, right? Like I went from not caring, like no, I wouldn't say not caring, like I would I went from defining the words all in myself to, oh my gosh, what if nobody else defines the words the way that I'm defining them? Like what if I'm entirely wrong with the way I've defined some of these words? And so then I started kind of getting a little
Mhm.
paranoid on the other side of things. And to this day, will you believe that not one person has reached out to me challenging any of the definitions in the book whatsoever? So maybe a little false worry there.
Yeah, that self-doubt can really start to take hold on people. I think as we start to do things, we start to say, uh, should I have done this? Is this something, like now what happens if I fail or if people do that? So that those words start to really come at us and we start to really doubt. Uh, and I'm curious, from your experience, why do you think we tend to go through that and have self-doubt?
Well, I think it's a natural part of life, right? It's a human instinct thing. I, we see so many other people doing things and don't connect the dots with what it takes to get there, I
Mm,
guess. And then we don't see ourselves in the same light that we see other people, right? Like to me, um,
mm,
I look around and this, it's used back against you too in the same way. Like nobody truly knows what anybody else has gone through, right? You would look
mm.
at me, people look at me every day and say, you've been through 2 kidney transplants. There's absolutely no way. Like you look healthy. And
Yeah.
I guess, when we're doubting ourselves, I just had this talk with our old dogs. We have an old dog call every 2 weeks. And yesterday, everybody was kind of in this, Well, like just doubting themselves, but I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but my opinion is blah 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 blah. And it's like, well,
Mm,
time out. Like, why are we doing this? Because every second, like every time we put that into the world, we actually make that a little bit more true. And so
yes.
it really concerns me, especially when I see some of, the old dogs in the room who are the experienced people, who are those people who should not be self-doubting themselves,
Hmm.
and then yet they're the ones who are still doing this, and there are younger folks looking up to them saying, oh, that's maybe how I should be. And there's such a fine line, because that's important in lean, right? You got to stay humble. You have to humble yourself, but you also,
Mm.
there's this fine line of being humbled and being confident too.
I
So
was thinking
what
the
do you
exact
think?
same. Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like, are they saying that because they don't want to come across as arrogant? Um, but yet, is can't we do things in a way where we're confident as well in our capabilities? Like, why do we need to downplay our knowledge or the things that we know? Because them saying that, yes, I think there is a fine line between humble and arrogant. Why can't we just be confident?
Yeah. I, at what point does confidence turn into arrogance, though? And again, that's like that emotional intelligence, self-awareness. Like, how are people currently receiving what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like you said, it's such a fine line. It can go back and forth, kind of like when you're sailing, you're never on one solid path. I might be arrogant one second,
Mm.
confident the next second, right? Like, or
Yeah.
I might be arrogant to you, but confident to another. And so that's like, it's such a hard course to define.
Yeah, for me, I guess where I see arrogance come in, I feel like people can be confident and then say, "What do you think? What are your thoughts?" Like that to me also opens the door for other thoughts, therefore allows for that to me demonstrates that people are not arrogant, that they're willing to hear other thoughts and perspectives. And that's what I think I like in what you're describing related to your book, because it's really like the old dog perspective and then the modern dog perspective. Because you're allowing the two different perspectives to be able to breathe and see the different ways that things can be viewed.
Well, they're so important, right? Because, my beginnings with lean, I failed, and I failed miserably because I read every white paper and I wanted to do the job just like that white paper said lean should be done to the project. And I quickly realized that it wasn't really about making the project fit these lean principles. It's more
Mhm.
so about taking these lean principles and how do we fit them to the project, right? So how do we use them such that they benefit the people who are doing the work? And
Yeah.
um, yeah, to me, that's the biggest difference there. From there are a bunch of different perspectives, and everyone is smarter than anyone.
Mm. Yeah. So I do want to say hello to a couple of people that have joined us. Abbas, good morning to you as well. Thank you for joining us.
I
Um,
see him all over the place all
yeah,
the time, all over Jesse and Jen stuff too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I've connected with him through Zoom. Him and I have chatted. Super great guy. I love what it is that he's doing. I love that he's also very supportive. So thank you so much for joining us today. Jesse's also here. He's a jump
Hey,
nine.
my peacock, peacock.
I also added this. This is a link out to Amazon, which is your book. So people that are interested in that can check that out as well. Did you know I was searching while I was on here talking to you?
I
Um,
didn't.
and Jesse says confidence comes from humility. Arrogance comes from insecurity. Yeah.
Yeah.
I I also think about that, and I also have seen insecurity demonstrate in other ways as well. But I do think that a lot of times, one of the things that I heard recently about confidence versus like arrogance is that confidence is you knowing what the truth is. Arrogance is needing that validation from someone else. And so they're seeking someone else to be able to get that information or that validation. And so it's the ego that's needing that validation from someone else. Because in confidence, you know what your truth is. You don't need another person to tell you what your truth is.
I love that. That's really cool. Yeah, it kind of lends itself to that experience thing, right? Like, hey, I've been in this scenario, I've seen it, I've done it, I know how to handle this.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, I'm just kind of guessing, going, running with the flow. Look at me, like trying to. I don't know. I love how you just put that very much.
Yeah. And I still think it does also have to do with being open as well to other perspectives, because we can always learn from other people or learn things we didn't know. I know that I learn from people all the time as I join Jesse and Jen's no BS tribe and the things that they talk about. I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, that's I'm dealing with that right now. And it seems like it happens every single time. And I gain a sense of like an additional piece of information for myself.
Every time I tune into those shows, I know they're talking about me. It drives me crazy.
Oh, it's so funny. Carrie also said, like wondering if you're in your ego. Oh, but you don't think you're in your ego. Yes, exactly. So as you're communicating, are you speaking in your ego? But yet you don't realize that you're speaking in your ego. So I like that, Carrie, as well. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit. I know that you also do a podcast. Can you tell people a little bit about what it is that you guys talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do the Lean Builder. The podcast is called the Lean Builder Hoots on the Ground with No Bullshito. And so shout out to Davey Thompson for letting me steal that no bullshito deal. But we talk about, what I like to say is we mine the minds of lean builders who have done it before. So we go and we talk about, what are they doing on their projects? How do they define lean construction? Because I think that's been one of the hard things over the years is that nobody truly has a really good definition of lean. Either they leave out the respect for people, or they leave out the efficiencies or the waste, or there's always like, it's kind of one word in a melting pot of definitions. And so we really like to talk to some lean builders who have been there, who have built things before in the past, primarily people who have come out of the field, to be able to help us understand how we can use these concepts and principles in the field. Constantly just talking, discussing about how are we practicing lean? What are we doing to make people feel important on the jobs, to remove waste on the projects, to get people working together in more efficient ways? So, and there are some tips and tricks. It's more of a socio or kind of a social way to make business happen than it is a technical, right? So this is more of a social than it is a technical skill set, I would say.
I like that. I was also, by the way, real quick, Carrie said she got the book. So
yeah. Thank you, Miss.
So I was listening to you and Thomas May. You actually just went over to Japan recently. And, it's the simple things sometimes in life that demonstrate that we value people. But I really want to understand, how this particular how you feel like this particular podcast helps you in sharing your experience and influencing your perspective on problem solving, and then also related to team dynamics. So what is it that in the things that you share that really have to do with problem solving and helping the overall team dynamics?
Yeah, for me, it's been as the host of the podcast, my question asking, right? Like, to me, to be able to get people to open up and to be able to have them talk a little bit, like, that's the one skill that I have learned in that podcast. And of course, we've got the emotional bungee jumpers group with Jesse and all the practice that we get going on there. But from a building teams perspective, and how can we influence people without telling them what to do, right? Without that solution shanking, as we've learned about, or the solutionizing, and to get people to kind of march in the direction that you want them without control, right? Or without telling them, but more influencing, asking questions. Sorry, there went my coffee cup all over my truck there. Yeah, that's all right. We'll just have to duck down a little bit more. But yeah, I think that's just it there in a nutshell. It's kind of like, being able to go on the podcast and hear from different builders who have, put their time in, they're seasoned, and to be able to practice my question asking ability to get some of these old dogs to open up to me and talk about, well, for one, just to talk, but then to two, for them to actually talk about, how these things are making them feel and what they're thinking at any given point. Like that's the power of that podcast to me, is being able to bring out people's perspectives. And again, it's construction is a really hard business, and people are dying or retiring at a rate of 5 to 1 coming in. And that is scary because society relies on a built environment for everything that we do. And so when you stop and think about that, with that knowledge that's leaving our industry, we're going to be in a very scary place. We're already in a scary place, but it's going to get even scarier because people are losing skills. Everybody wants to be a YouTube streamer doing what we're doing right now. And yet we don't realize that if there's nobody to connect all those cables, or to put a roof over your head, you won't be able to stream. And so I think that's so very important that, and these people are dying. Like, there have been 2 old dogs in the last 2 years who have died. And one of them put some of that knowledge, my co-author, Buddy Brumley, put that knowledge down in a book. One of them didn't have that opportunity, but he did. Armando Tunalis did a lot of live streaming, a lot of LinkedIning, right? So he did get some of his knowledge out there. And so, I mean, if you're one of these old dogs, right, 50 plus in the construction industry, what are you doing? How are you capturing your knowledge such that we can feed that back to the next generation? So the book, the podcast, the Clemson, the schooling, all that stuff is all in an effort to be able to document the wonderful things that we do have going on in the construction business. Because there are a lot of great things. For every terrible, horrible, awful thing, for every construction worker using a porta-john, we have some other wonderful, amazing things, right? It's all relative, the law of relativity. For everything that's terrible within construction, there are also some things that are wonderful in our business as well. So,
yeah. You mentioned perspective, and I'm curious where you have felt your perspective has shifted drastically. And this could be in your career or your personal life, but something that made you shift drastically your perspective.
Yeah, and I guess I've said the word perspective a lot, but I want to be like, I think from my perception, and I think I guess those words are so different, right? Because I believe perspective is more powerful than perception, which again kind of speaks back to that confidence, arrogance conversation that we had.
Yeah.
But so tell me the question again. One moment that changed my perspective. Is that what you're?
Yeah, so something that where you had a particular way of thinking, and then something that shifted how you viewed life in a dramatic way.
I got a funny one for you, and then I got a real one. Okay.
Awesome.
So 2 weeks ago, I stroked a check for college, and boy, did that change my perspective. I'm no longer eating at Hall's Chop House anymore. I'm eating
Mm,
at the Carolina Wing House now. um, no, so speaking back to that same scenario, right? 19 years ago, when my daughters were born, like you talk about a change in perspective or perception. Like to
mhm.
me, that was the biggest one that could have ever happened. I'm 22 years old and I'm living in Gainesville, Florida, and my wife is like, "Okay, it's time to go to the." Actually, she calls me. I'm at work pulling out foundations out of the ground, and she says, "Hey, it's time to go to the hospital. My water just broke." And I'm like, I got like 6 foundations left. I'll meet you there. And so she drives, and I'm like desperately calling people to see if I can like go to the hospital and leave work and all that. And anyway, fast forward, I get there after being told I was stupid for even asking the question. Uh, and so I get there, and um, man, like I showed up being very concerned for myself and left being very concerned for those 2 little girls that I had
Mm,
literally in my hands. And so, um, and it's pretty ironic that today I'm moving one of them into college at my college's rival, nonetheless. But and the other one cut my hair before a big week this week because she is now a cosmetology professional. So, um, kind of full circle, right? 19 years ago, my perception changed when those daughters were born, and other people were more important than me. Like that was honestly, that was probably my, because I was still young, 21, 22. I was still all about me,
yeah.
and that was probably the biggest perception shift. And now that I'm sitting here talking, running my mouth about it, I'm kind of like reflecting on today in general as I'm dropping my daughter off to college. It's almost like that perception shift again,
Mm,
back looking in the mirror where it's like, hey, okay, well, maybe you might should put yourself first a little bit more now here. And, I'm looking at my wife now, and, that, and we've talked a lot about this,
yeah.
me, you, the kind of the no BS crew, the emotional bungee jumper crew, but, we are getting to know each other again. And so, um, that's been hard. That's been a challenge. And, but it's been fun too. And just the same ways of like, uh, is what do you like to do, right? It's been 20 years. Like we've both changed drastically, um,
Yep.
and so now it's kind of a shift in perception the other way. It's like, okay, you have been putting other people for ahead of yourself for like 20 years now. Maybe it's time to like put yourself back. So
Yeah.
that's been a learning experience and something that we're flirting with again.
Yeah, I actually just posted about this this week, and how a lot of times people will say, "You're not the person that I married," and that sort of emphasizes the fact that you shouldn't have changed. Uh,
Mm,
and when I thought about that, and that isn't something my husband has said, but I thought about it with my first husband, and the fact that we got married. I was 19, he was 20 when we got married. So same type of scenario. We didn't have kids, so I didn't have to immediately change my perception. And I can't imagine having 2 twins in my hands and going, holy
mm.
shit, like, yes, this is an eye-opening experience in like where my
Two
priorities
eyes.
are. Yeah. Not just one, but two twins. Yeah. So that in itself really does make you have to reevaluate and reshift that perspective that you have. But a lot of times it's interesting. It's like in relationships, a lot of times we think we shouldn't have changed, or like, this is the person that I married, and why is it that they changed? But when you also start to reflect upon yourself, you're like, how much did you change, along the way as well? So it's figuring out, how do we grow together? And so what are some of the things that you are doing to be able to reevaluate? You said you're focusing now on you, but you're also experimenting on the things of how do you grow back together, because there's a lot of change that happened along the way. And now you're sort of releasing your two twin daughters to the world of adulthood. And now you're reflecting back, even as you said today, on like, okay, well, what does this mean for me? And then what does this mean for us?
That's a really hard one for me. It's funny, like we're sitting here talking about the law of relativity and the power of perspective. And we're getting into my twin daughters, and you know how different they see the world. And I don't want to say good twin, evil twin, because I had to have to pick one then, but it really like makes me stop and think about like good and evil in the world, right? If there was no good, there would be no evil. It makes me think about, like joy and pain and the same concept. And I'm actually starting to quote a 50 Cent song here, so stop me if I get too nasty with it. But he says joy wouldn't be good if it weren't for pain. Death wouldn't be good if it wasn't for life. And so it's like, you start thinking about relativity, and you have these kind of these swings, these scales, like even like a mother's love, as we're sitting here, like pulling her off into college and allowing her to go. My wife is like just crying and tearful, and I'm like so happy, and it's so when you stop, it's like a father's love and a mother's love is almost like a mother's love wouldn't be so good if it wasn't for a father. Like a father wants you to go get scraped a little bit, or like go experience things, and a mom just kind of wants to coddle and love, and so as we're trying to get back into this thing and focus on ourselves now, it's like that wouldn't be so good had we not for 20 years allowed our whole life to be focused around our children and living our life for our family. And so it's like we're still figuring it out, right? Like one of the things that we've been experimenting and playing with is doing new things together, right? So I travel quite a bit for work, and so when I go and travel somewhere new, like, hey, come go find a place for us to eat and explore, and so that's one thing. But just trying to see the other side of whatever it is that we're in right now, whether it's caring for ourselves or caring for others, or good or bad, or good and evil, or intoxicated and sober. I don't know, like see the other side and be able to reframe it from a different perspective is so important to just designing things in general.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, the law also says to try to look at things as not necessarily good or bad. Because when you think about the situations as well, so the good and evil type of thing, even though we might see things in our perception as evil or as good, sometimes if we really look at things from a perspective, other people view it completely different as well. So it is interesting, the dynamic of how it is that you view things can really change that perspective. So it's reframing it. And sometimes that's super hard, because then you also have to think about things from a boundary perspective on what is truly good for you as well. So it's like that fine line of of understanding what's good for you, and then also not labeling things per se as bad or good. It's
Yeah,
hard.
I read some of that, and from my perspective, I love that things are neutral. However, for me, they're still good or bad. But
Mm.
I'm just open to the fact that somebody else might see it different than me, and that's okay. Like, I expect that.
Yeah,
Shoot, what else? Something else you just said sparked. I lost it. Sorry. Oh
that's
well.
okay. That's okay.
Um,
Yeah, I'm trying to think about what it is that I said that may have sparked it. Well, let's do this. Let's go to some of the comments, and maybe that
okay.
thought will come back.
Yeah.
J Rose says, "You're not the person I married. Yeah, we are all growing and figuring out our lives, and should be consistently changing in life." Yeah, I think we are consistently changing in life. There's nothing, life is always changing. That's the constant, as they say in life, that things are always changing. Because even when we think about like just life in general, and that's why we have the different seasons. We have the time of growth. We have the time of summertime where we're really thriving, and then we have times where we're starting to decay, the world, in fall, and then things are dead, and then there's rebirth. So when we even think about just the world and life itself, like, it's that cycle that we go through. It's reinventing, it's the new beginnings in our life, but we have that choice of choosing to do the new beginning as well.
Yeah, change happens, and growth is real. For me, it seems like it might be easier to see growth or change in other people than it is in myself, really. I think, it dawned on me what I was trying to think of earlier. When you were talking, and you were talking about how people see words and things different, and it might mean different things to different people. It might be good to one, evil to another. It makes me think of that word culture that
I was
Steve kind
thinking
of
the
gave
same
me hell
thing.
about earlier. Yeah. And how I can't stand it because, in my opinion, people abuse the term, the word. They don't really understand what they're trying to describe when they're using that term. And so, but somebody else, Jen Lacey, might actually love the word and think that word's beautiful and describes everything else that is going right. And so I just, it really makes me think from a vocabulary perspective, how we see words different as well. And that's, even to kind of expound on that a little bit more. I'm trying to learn some Japanese right now, and I'm trying so hard. And the more and more I learn, the more I realize that they have different words that mean the same word in different contexts, if that makes any bit of sense. And so, depending on, what context you're in, or who you're speaking to, you might use a different word than if you were in a different scenario speaking to somebody. And yeah, so it just, being open minded enough to know that you're not the only person's opinion that matters in this world is a really important and hard thing to do within every conversation that you're in.
Yeah. I think it's also taking time to really understand people's perspective as well, like to be able to view it from their lens as well. And the more you think about it, a lot of times social media does not provide that. We're in the tit for tat, type of communication when we're on social media, and in a lot of ways. And I wonder how we can shift back to really taking time to understand each other's perspective. And the only way you can really do that is to have conversations like this, and to really have a listening for someone else's thoughts in how it is that they might view things. So as you were talking about culture, culture for me, I've always viewed it as a positive. And then when you mentioned that it's a negative previously, I was like, oh, I could see that too. I could see how people abuse the word culture. It's all about the context of how people are also using things as well that I think can provide further insight.
Yeah, one of my kind of big realizations when I was in Japan is how that culture subordinates itself to other people. And
Mhm.
wow, as an American, how like strikingly powerful was that to like when I walk into a department store, everybody bows to
Mhm.
me. Wow, that was, and so
Yeah.
um, it made me feel some type of way, like inside, and you know, I wonder where that comes from, if that was just like how they were raised.
Yes.
I wonder if that came from the nuclear warfare, the war that happened there. I got
Mhm.
to walk through the International Museum of Peace while I was there, and I
Mhm.
was devastated as I was walked through the whole thing and started ringing those bells outside. I mean, it was sombering, and
Mhm.
so with all the craziness going on in the world right now, it makes me stop and wonder if it doesn't really take something like that to humble people so much that they subordinate themselves to others. And I am in no way of supporting, condoning, saying it was right or anything along those lines.
Yeah.
Um, but I do wonder what it takes from a mass scale to kind of reset specifically the American human mind to get us back into this point of caring about other people,
Yeah.
not keeping up with the Joneses. Like, what is it going to take for us to care?
Mm. I love that question. Uh, and I don't know that I have the answer to that. And I'm not sure if anyone does, but it is something that I think is very important that we need to figure out as U.S. citizens, because there's a lot of people that it is about me. It is about like what do I get out of this? And I look at things. I was actually, here I am saying, the conversation back and forth on social media, yet I still do it. But it was that type of conversation. It was an individual that was like, well, I'm getting this, I'm getting this. And I was like, okay, but what about the collective? Like, what about, like, I am privileged. Yes, I'm going to benefit from certain things that are happening. Absolutely. But what am I also doing to be able to help other people? Like, if it's only about me, and that's the world that we're moving towards right now, then what does that really mean? Because eventually that comes back to kick your ass. When you don't care about other people, then how does that end up negatively impacting us as a society as a whole? Because if we don't care about others, that'll eventually come back to bite everyone. Um,
Yeah,
I
leads
was
to
gonna.
suffering, right? I mean,
It does.
and now you start entering in my world, you enter this heaven and hell conversation, right? If right, they say hell, you get long spoons and you can't serve yourself.
Mm. Yeah, for me, I think heaven and hell are already here. They're here on earth. It's what you choose for yourself and what it is that you want to continue to surround yourself with. Is
Mm.
how I view heaven and earth. Carrie also added centering skills. And then she also added in Asian cultures are more skilled at meditation and other internally centering grounding methods that help with perspective. I do have to say that, with the journaling and the meditation and those types of things, I have been doing a lot more reflecting in life. And that has allowed me to be able to try to view things from different perspectives I also, just like with everything, I think there's a light and there's a shadow side. So with the Asian culture, I think there's a lot of humility that comes with the bowing and caring, with other people. And there's also shaming that comes with it as well. Like when you don't do certain things, they also shame you or ostracize you when you don't conform to certain things as well, which to me is also something that isn't necessarily uplifting and helping people either. So I think that there's a balance between the two. It has to be self accountability versus other people shaming you into things, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. Yeah. I guess I'm not too clued in the ostracization piece of this.
Yeah.
And I would love to do a little bit more research on that, I guess.
Yeah. So funny enough, my ex-husband studied Japanese, so I do know just a little bit of
Oh,
Japanese.
wow.
So arigato gozaimashita and do itashimashita.
Catalogue
Yeah. So, at least thank you and you're welcome. And then, funny enough, my sister Carrie, who's on, her husband actually learned Japanese and taught Japanese, a naval defense system. So he knew Japanese and was the person that helped them. Yeah. And so she said when Ed came back from Japan, he mentioned that if you're in a car and get rear-ended, it's your fault. So different than from here.
Yeah. I'll tell you one of the other things when you're in a car there, like the first 2 years you're driving, you get this special symbol on the back of your car. And so people stay away from you because of that symbol. And so when I got to go walk a construction site, they took that symbol and they put that symbol on the new hard hats for the people who were just on the job site for the first 2 months so that you stay away from them for the same reasons.
That's awesome. The other thing I was thinking about is with like reflection and things like that, and a part of this particular law, it also has to do with gratitude. And I'm curious how the role of gratitude has played out in your life and maybe confronting difficult situations, maybe even beyond just the things that you've mentioned, but maybe other things of how gratitude can play into helping you with difficult situations.
Yeah, so you made me think of one Jesse again, because he's the one that kind of flipped my light switch on gratitude and what that means, and to be grateful, especially for the things that you don't view as good, is one of the best things in life that we possibly can do, because then what ends up happening is you find good in that scenario, right? Like you find whatever your mindset is looking for, and that's it's been an interesting realization for me, I guess, that comes true every single time I have ever reached in or leaned into some negative situation. Like I find good in that situation through being thankful or grateful that it was able to happen to me. Whether that's kidney transplant or that's my daughter's moving out, whatever that is that feels yucky right now. Like be grateful that you have the opportunity to feel yucky, right? Like that. Wow, because twice I almost didn't have that opportunity, and so gratitude. Steve Harvey says that attitude of gratitude will take you anywhere you want to go, and so to be grateful for the good things and the nice things is the easy piece of this, but when things are terrible, right, to be grateful for that piece of it. I think that's what really brings out a special human. I like, to me, gratitude's everything. Like, it's how you're framing things, and yeah, just to be here and be able to experience this life in itself is a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah. Do you have any examples or things that you've been dealing with lately that you've really been focused on how you can shift maybe your perspective on gratitude, or maybe things you weren't originally grateful for as you started to look at them?
Mm, let's see. Nothing's striking me off the top of my head, but I'm sure I've got a million of them out there. Man, like everything keeps going back to my daughter right now because I'm sitting
So,
here. Well, yeah, um, let's see. Yeah, you might have to hit me with a different one, Miss Sarah. Let me
okay.
think on that one a minute.
Yeah. Well, as I start to think about this particular law, it's also about dealing with reevaluating, as we talked about, in our perspective. And so I don't know if you're wanting to dive into this, but sometimes relationships can be challenging in the things that you deal with. And I wanted to know, maybe if you're willing to dive into like your own relationship, your personal relationship, and maybe the things that you have done as far as reevaluating your perspective, and maybe even perspective related to just life in general. I know you've talked a little bit about it, related to re-getting to know your wife and things like that. But maybe experiences that have helped you to sort of reevaluate things that you needed to do in a relationship perspective, if you're wanting to get into that.
So can I just start with this? Like, I'm pretty emotionally immature. I'm working on this emotional intelligence thing. I'm
Yeah.
studying the heck out of it. I'm studying leadership styles. I'm studying trust. I
Yeah.
think that's the one that lands with me the most. Is that trust factor is really hard, and boy, have I messed that up a bunch in my life. Like I'm a dog, man. Like a dog is a dog is a dog, and that doesn't always end well. I'm grateful. Like here, so yeah, let's tie this one all the way back together, right? Like I'm grateful my wife hasn't left me yet because I have not been the greatest husband to her over the years. I have sought females outside of our relationship. I've done a lot of traveling. I've done a lot of drinking. I've done a lot of eating bad. I've not done a lot of good taking care of myself. And so um, I guess like watching her and how she has responded to that with not the same things that I would have done. Like I would have been gone 12 times by now for sure.
Yeah.
No question. But to have her like still by my side, still like full on servant mode, wanting to just do anything she can to make me happy. It's like, man, you talk about being grateful for somebody that you've hurt so much and so hard like that. I don't deserve that, right? At all, not even close. No matter any good I've done. So um, I'm still not there yet, Miss Sarah. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I have a lot of work to do on my relationships
Hmm.
to call them good or meaningful or I don't know. That's a really hard one for me because
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's we were talking a little bit about the arrogance and confidence, um, and I think that you know the word narcissist kind of gets should be floated in there too. I think sometimes in construction it takes an an arrogantly confident narcissist to be successful in construction. That's just what it takes, and unfortunately, that spills out a lot in our personal lives as well, because that's not something you can just turn on and off. That's something that just is with you. And yeah, that's it's a really tough question, because relationship wise, it's I am a struggle, and I am trying to really focus myself, like hone in my relationship skills,
Yeah.
whatever those might be.
Oh, first, I just appreciate your vulnerability in this. And the reason that I think that it's important is that I also think that when we think about the construction industry in the way that it disconnects people, you're leaving for times, for long periods of times at times. And it's one of the things that I think needs to be addressed as you're looking at the lean principles, because when we are pulled away from the connections or the people that are there to help support us, what are we doing in the meantime? So it was funny. I was talking with my husband about this. I was letting him know about our conversation, and he was like, my husband and I have both been cheated on, things like that. And he was like, whoa. And I was like, Adam I also view you as a really, amazing person. And he was like, well, how can you view, this goes into the good and bad scenario, how can you view someone that has done that to their wife as someone that also is a good person? And I'm like, well, that's because I also do understand the circumstances. You can still think someone is an amazing person, not approve of the things the choices that they faced and the choices that they made, and still see their heart in things, because they still want to grow as a person. They still want to improve as a person. And to me, that's really what is most telling about someone, is their ability or wanting to grow from a situation as well.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. You make me stop and think if I am a good person.
You are.
I don't, well,
Have you
yeah,
made decisions that maybe weren't the best? Sure.
always. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I know this is hard, because vulnerability for you, I know that this is a tough one for you. And I really appreciate, because I think that this is an important topic for people to also understand. And then how do you get over the things that you've done in a relationship as well? Because it ends up taking you having patience in the person that you have worked with. And then it also takes that other person being willing to forgive and release, and also both of you can go coming together with gratitude of what it is that you still have and how it is that you're going to grow, because shit's going to happen in life. But we do have a choice in life on now, how are we going to deal with this? How are we going to move from this? And grow together.
Yeah. Just like as you're talking, I just like see the hurt in her face again. Like that to me,
Yeah.
that makes you wonder, like, how could you do that? Like, I don't know. I'm regretting going there at this very time right now.
Okay.
Like my mind is racing all over the place. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the question was. There a question?
Yeah. Oh, well, let's do this. Let's pull up what some other people think as
You're gonna
well.
let me take a breath of air?
Yes. All right. Carrie says just being willing to go deep into self-reflection is a huge milestone. Many people are not even willing to take a look. So kudos to you.
Thank you, Miss Carrie Lee.
Maria says everyone's journey is their own. If I want grace and compassion for my mistake, I must also extend that radical acceptance to others.
I like that.
Yeah.
My homie Maria Martin, radical acceptance. That's a cool thought.
Yeah. And then Carrie says, sounds like your wife has forgiven. The harder part is forgiving ourselves and releasing it from the energy body.
Yeah, that doesn't. I don't know what an energy body is. I guess I don't know. I have to
Yes.
do some
So,
studying.
yeah, this is one of the things that we talk about, is that a lot of times when we deal with things, whether it's our doing or someone else's doing, we have trapped emotions. We have emotions that are still stuck in our body. And when we don't release those things, in whether it's journaling or whether it's, talking to someone, whether it's, finding a way to release that energy, that stuff can dwell within you, and manifest itself in other ways as well. So into heart disease, into, cancer, into those things, because we still have that negative energy trapped within us that then manifests itself to something else. And Carrie's also suggesting the Barbara Brennan books can help learn about, energy. Oh, we got lots of stuff coming in now.
Nice.
So we also have, I'm trying to get back up to it. Maria says, the feelings you were describing, they're stuck in your cells, the need to recalibrate, so to speak.
So is that how you release it? Is by speaking? Ugh.
Sometimes.
That sounds so. Is there any other way? Because that sounds
Yes.
really hard.
You can also journal about it. So a lot of times, as an example, experiences that I'm very familiar with is, as women have gone through rape, have gone through different things in their life, where people have violated them. Sometimes you don't have the opportunity to be able to confront that person, or, you're not as comfortable talking about things. So journaling about it and really stating all the things that you want. And a lot of times they'll even then say, take that and put it in a fire and release that energy out, that negative feeling and the things that you're feeling, to be able to release it. But ultimately, I think a part of this process is forgiving yourself as well. And your wife may have those types of things as well. She may also feel guilt, because I know that sometimes we also, we both, in relationships, we all have a part that we played in things. So it's then figuring out, how do we come back together? How do we rekindle? And I think that's really some of the things that, as I've been talking to you, that you've really been doing. It's the reframing. It's the, okay, where do we go from here? How do we now grow together again? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I like how you put that. Like the hey, we've released it. Now, how do we come back together? Like, it's like an exhale and then a new inhale, kind of, out with the bad and in with the good, as they say. Why do I feel like I should be on a couch right now and not in my truck? So you're killing me.
I just want to give you a big hug right now.
Because do I look that uncomfortable?
Yes.
As I feel? Yeah.
And I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but I do.
You're good. I need it.
I think that, I hope that that by also talking about this stuff, you also help other people as well, to understand that you can be a strong, confident person and do things, and then also have other things that you're dealing with in life, that people are always dealing with different things and struggles. So now it's like, how do we deal with this change? Because that's really the law of relativity. How do we now refocus this and reframe this and figure out how we can move forward?
It's funny. I feel like I can be really confident when I'm on my podcast doing a lean builder, Hoots on the ground with no bullshito, but to get to try and bring out my badass self, I'm not feeling super confident
Oh,
or arrogant or anything right now. Like I feel like I've never been on a live stream podcast video call before at the very moment.
yeah.
Mm,
But is that because, sometimes letting down our armor can be disarming?
probably. I don't know. I mean, I yeah, I look at, people like you and Jesse and folks like you guys do this stuff for a living almost, like, just, yeah, I roll around no mask on whatsoever. It's just me and I feel like I try to be me all the time, but I like, I don't know, I guess me has turned into like this hardcore old dog kind of, like, I don't know, like, and I like, but part of me even still feels like that's how, like, I should still be. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't, my daughter, like, I don't want my daughter to see me over here in my truck crying on a live stream on LinkedIn talking about,
Yeah.
all of my personal relationship problems. It just doesn't feel right. Like, I even naturally, like, I don't know, Miss Sarah.
All right. Well,
I
let's.
struggle with this shit big time.
Yeah. Would you prefer to move on?
Yes, which is probably the exact reason we should not do that.
Okay. I want to do, I only want to go where you want to go. That's why I was asking whether you wanted
No,
to go there.
keep making me uncomfortable, please. Jesse's loving this right now. Please, yeah. Mm.
I guess when you think about the uncomfortableness in it, what is it that you're thinking in why it is that you're uncomfortable?
Well, I guess I don't know who's on the other side of this, right? Like, I know a few of the folks, Miss Carrie Lee and Maria and team, but
Yeah,
um, I don't know. I don't even know why that's important to me, because I generally don't care. I guess it's like, hey, I
yeah,
guess maybe people might think a little bit worse of me now,
yeah,
which, I don't need any more of that going on in my life.
yeah. Here's the thing is that do you think that people don't make mistakes in life?
No, I know we all make mistakes, but that's a pretty big mistake that you probably shouldn't be making, right? Like, that's
Well,
a line crosser.
it is something that can be a line crosser, but people do make the mistake. I guess the question is, what are we going to learn from it? Because when we make the mistakes, and even if they're big ones, what are we going to take from that? How are we going to grow from that? And that's really what this particular topic is about. How can we grow from the mistakes?
Yeah, well, I think we're getting there.
Yeah,
I think it's still a long way to go. I think it's,
yeah,
because I still turn my head, right? Like, we'll call it that. And I don't know why. I don't know the factor. I don't know the control mechanism there, right? Like, I don't. What's the button to push to not do that? Like, I almost feel like it's a DNA wiring in a bit.
mm.
I don't know, and like being comfortable with all this talking and writing and like reflecting, and like, it's easy when it's about construction, when I'm reflecting on the job, but when it's
Yeah.
like me in personal relationships, not so damn easy at all.
Mm. Why do you view them differently? Aren't the principles the same?
Oh yeah, 100%. I
Okay.
guess I'm not emotionally well. I don't know. I guess I'm one's easier for me to see than the other.
Yeah, absolutely. Jen also added, thank you for your vulnerability and real conversation. I know it's tough, but being transparent and knowing how to move forward with love and integrity is a beautiful thing. Here's the thing is that when we come to grips with the things that have happened in our life, I have found that we then are able to take our power back. This has happened. Now, how am I going to deal with whatever the consequences are, the things that I have done, or the things that have been done to me, in how it is that we're going to move forward, because that's where real strength comes into play, is admitting the things that we've done, and then also figuring out how it is that we move forward. That to me is badass. That to me is strength. Vulnerability, most of the time people view it as weakness. I view it as courageous. What you've done today is badass. It is courageous. It may not feel like it, but I do want you to know that owning your mistakes, that's what we want in the construction industry. That's what we want for people to be able to do. We also need to do it in our personal life as well.
It doesn't feel very badass. I feel like a dumbass a little bit, quite honestly. Like, yeah, let's come. Yeah. Thank you, I guess I should be saying, for the feedback, Miss Sarah.
Well, I hate that you're so uncomfortable today. It's a different side of you. Okay, good. I like it. Taking a breath.
Yeah, I mean, what did Miss Maria say?
She said, yes, you don't have to speak at all. Reiki healers, or like what Kate's partner does, can help without much talking. And so I don't know if you're familiar with what Reiki is.
No.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you have some people that are on here that are willing to give you some more insights into, healing, that internal healing, and how it is that you can deal with mistakes and grow from mistakes. But I will reiterate that it's pretty badass when people are willing to own their mistakes.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm excited to look into this energy body, this internal healing. I wrote down Barbara Brennan.
Yes.
And releasing of energy. I think that's, again, just something new that we can explore together with my wife.
Yes.
Just talking about the concept, popularizing it together, being able to kind of understand what it is in one would be a good exercise. So
yeah. And then Maria also said, yes, putting in the fire and giving the universe an opportunity to make something new.
Yeah, don't give the university a chance to make something new. They'll do it. Oh my gosh.
I know. Yeah, so that might be an exercise even for you and your wife, for you both to write how it is that you feel, get it out, even if you're not expressing it to each other, but releasing that together.
We tried that like 5 years ago or so, and we both wrote something and put it in the fire, and she was not a big fan of that. Like, she was like, I just put all these thoughts and feelings down, and now we're gonna burn them. Like, she
was so holding on to that shit.
Yeah, I guess so. And it was hot then too, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Carrie also said, we are learning how to be gentle with ourselves and move toward love of ourselves and others. You're not alone. And I think that goes back to some of the other stuff that you were saying, as far as just us in the collective, in the universe, and us figuring out a different way of how we can talk to each other in the universe. And I think that the thing is that it's the things we need to do in our personal lives with the people surrounding us, with our family members, with our colleagues, with, everyone, and how it is that we can be more gentle with ourselves and also with others.
Why is that the hardest thing to do, Miss Sarah, especially around other people that we see often or care about the most? Like, I don't understand
Yeah.
why that's the hardest for me versus some random stranger on the street. Is easier to do that than it is with somebody I've been living with for 25 years.
Yeah. I definitely think reflecting can help that. And sometimes it's understanding it may have nothing to do with that person. It may have to do with your past and the people that you learned things from as well growing up.
I just read a book called The Origins of You, and that was it was a pretty powerful book on exactly what you just said. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it may be a part of this. One of the things that I've also learned is that it could also be you learning how to break generational mistakes. And sometimes your generational mistakes aren't the same, but they have some similar themes to them. So that it could be reflecting on that and the energy that is coming up your lineage as well. So reflect upon the things that you know about your parents, about your grandparents, things like that. And how do you emulate, or how do you potentially do things in a similar fashion to them?
I don't know if I want to reflect on that, Miss Sarah. There might be more there than I'm really wanting to know. Oh man.
So it looks like we've left you thinking a lot today and pondering a lot of things to think about.
Yeah, we're gonna do this again tomorrow, right? Tomorrow
Okay,
morning.
let's do it. We'll continue on.
Maybe without all the people watching us next time. I like the private conversations a little bit better with you.
Uh,
Ugh.
I really do appreciate you getting vulnerable today. You are taking a huge leap, a huge step in something that's uncomfortable. And with doing something uncomfortable, nothing but growth can come from it.
Yeah, again, thank you for the feedback, Miss Sarah, but I don't feel like we got there. I'm going to check in with my vulnerability partner, and he's going to tell me no, we were still water skiing. So
Mm,
maybe next time I would, yeah, maybe you'll let me try again one day. I don't know.
absolutely. Yeah.
Uh, uh,
No, I,
like I
I
forget.
love it. Well, here, let's do this. So think about the law of relativity. And think about all of the different things that you've experienced in life, and what is it that you might leave our audience with in the things that you're reflecting upon, or the things that you have found to be successful in the past. Because calling upon the past and where we've been successful can help us with other things that we're struggling with. So maybe think of a time that you did reframe things, and how it is that you did successfully reframe your situations and what it is you did.
Yo, I think right here, being on this call, I'm kind of starting to reframe the situation of cheating on my wife. I'll call it what it is. I think, the law of relativity says that everything is neutral, nothing is good or bad, and that people see things from their own lens, right? So I think, like specifically this vulnerability topic, when you flip it and to say that it's a strength and it's powerful, that becomes relative, right? Like um, but it's only relative to the fact that vulnerability can also be a weakness and tear you down, and it only is one because the other exists and is an option. And so I think from this perspective, it's really powerful from a reframing perspective, because I think no matter if it's good or bad, you can always take it and turn it to the other, or flip it to the other side of things and say, well, why is it the opposite of what it is from my mindset right now? So that's kind of where I'm at, is like flipping my personal mindset on vulnerability, using the power of perspective or the law of relativity to say, hey, Hoots, maybe this vulnerability thing isn't so bad. So I would like to try again, Miss Sarah, to bring out my badass self a little bit deeper next time.
I love what it is that you just said, because vulnerability is, in some people's eyes, weakness. And when you view it that way, it's going to be that way. When I view it as strength and courage, just because it requires people to get deep and to say things that they feel uncomfortable with. And when we think about anything we've done in our lives, it is the uncomfortableness. It is the struggles. It is the trauma that we have dealt with in life, that when we reframe those things and see it as power, as something that we've learned from, and now we're going to grow from it, we're going to do something more with it, and how it is that we can help other people, that's really a powerful thing.
Yeah, turning weaknesses into strength. That's the
Yes.
law of relativity.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for joining us today, Adam.
Thank you. Arigato gozaimasu.
Doitashimashite. All right. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. It was definitely a badass show today, opening up, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I do want to really just thank you, Adam, for everything today. Thank you, everyone, for your support of Adam as you were adding comments to help him reframe things as well. And next week, I do want to encourage you to come back. I have a guest co-host joining me. And so come back. I'm going to make it a little bit of a surprise. So check in and see who my guest co-host will be next week as we continue the law of relativity. Thank you, everyone. Have a badass Friday, an amazing weekend, and hope it makes your Monday amazing.
Holla, 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 holla.